Hey, I'm Matt Shadetek. I'm a producer and DJ based in Brooklyn, New York. I'm also the course designer for the Logic program at Dubspot and Dubspot Online. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make some white noise sweeps, some people call them risers, to use as transitions between the different parts in your song. The beat that I have here is actually something I started in my last video, which was about tracking drums off the MPC or any hardware sequencer, drum machine, Groovebox, whatever. And I've fleshed it out a little bit. I added some parts here on Logic, edited the drums that I tracked in a little bit, and I've added these white noise risers. So that's what we're going to focus on for this video. I'll just play you a couple bars of the track so you can get a vibe, and then we'll go in. So there you go. That's the vibe I'm on right now. And the part that we're going to focus on are these risers right here. So this right now is actually not just white noise, and I'll show you how to make the other part of the sound, but the main component of it is white noise. I'm doing this using the ESP synthesizer, which is a relatively simple synthesizer in Logic, and then a high-pass filter, the auto filter, and tremolo effects. So worth noting here, there's no automation going on, which just makes this a nice, simple way to do it. There are many, many ways to approach creating this kind of effect. In fact, we can create this whole effect inside the ES2 synthesizer if we wanted to, and I actually do that in the full Dubspot course. But this is a little bit of a simpler method, which doesn't require you to have a in-depth knowledge of synthesis and sound design. So I hope it'll be helpful for some of you, newer producers out there who are trying to create an effect like this. So let's get into it. So you heard the sound there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a new software instrument track, and I'm just going to recreate that sound from scratch. So here we got an empty track. I'm going to go down here to the I/O slot and load a ESP polyphonic synth. Now, when we open this up, we've got that kind of a bass sound going on. That's fine, but what I want is just a straight up noise sound. So what I'm going to do is over here, this is the different oscillators that we have in the synth that control the tone of the raw sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to option click on each of these faders and turn them all down. So now if I play a note, it's basically silent, right? There's nothing there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the noise generator over here at the end and turn it all the way up. And I recommend you turn down your volume quite a bit before you listen to this, because it's going to be a little bit loud. And then I'm going to take the cutoff frequency over here in the filter, and I'm just going to option click it. Let's see, actually, let's turn it all the way up. And option clicking didn't quite get me where I wanted. It got me kind of halfway. Option clicking is a really useful thing. Like if I option click the noise here, it's going to reset back to 0. Option clicking takes us to the default state of any parameter. So it's a handy way to reset things quickly. So I'm just going to option click the resonance, turn it all the way down, and then the velo filter knob over here and the ADSR intensity, I'm going to option click those as well. These we can leave alone, they're good. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here for the attack in the envelope. I'm going to option click the attack. The decay, the sustain, I'm going to grab by hand and turn all the way up, and the release I'm going to option click as well. and then I'm going to option click the overdrive over here to turn it off. Now, we will do, in the Dubspot course, we do a full rundown of all the parameters in here and what they do. I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to kind of get you to the basic noise sound quickly, and I'm going to focus on the effects a little bit more. So now what we've got is a nice constant noise tone, right? Now, the thing about white noise is that it's a random distribution of frequencies, right? It doesn't have any pitch. I can play different notes. You can't play a melody with noise, right, without another oscillator in here. And so it contains some bass information that I don't really want. So let me just slide this out of the way a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go over here to the insert effects. I'm going to go to the EQ category, go down to single band, and I'm going to choose a high pass filter. What this does is it allows the high information to pass through while cutting off any low frequencies. The default is 1000 hertz, and I'm just going to roll with that. Now, you hear our sound is thinned out quite a bit. That's good because I don't want that. What I really want is that high part. I don't want any of the bassy part of the noise to conflict with any of my other instruments in my track. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to get a little sweep going. So if you notice, I'll just turn off the tremolo for a second. If you notice in our earlier sound, solo this. The sound gets brighter over time and kind of sweeps in, and so that's caused by the auto filter effect. So a filter is something which controls the frequency content of a sound, and so what we're doing here is we're causing the auto filter to move and start out by cutting off the high frequencies and then allowing them out later on. Now, this is the default state for the auto filter. So in the default state, what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the cutoff modulation for the envelope up here, which we're not going to use. And down here we have what's called a low frequency oscillator. What this does is it creates a control signal which allows us to sort of animate the parameters in the auto filter. So one way to do this, just keeping this off for a second, there's my tone, right? And if I grab the cutoff up here, I can move it manually, right? But I don't want to have to record automation to do something simple like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the LFO down here to sweep that for me. So I'm going to turn up the cutoff modulation, and now listen. So I'm just holding the note down, and it's the LFO now is moving the cutoff at a certain rate. Now, down here, we have the waveform selector, and what this is doing is this is dictating how the pattern of the sweep that it's making. And so this is going up and then down again, and what I want to do is I just want to have it go only up. So I'm going to choose this waveform here. So now if I hold the key, it just goes up and then cuts right back down. So that's almost what I want. But the next thing is that I want to set the proper rate, right? I want this to happen in the right rhythm for my track. So let me just close the auto filter for a minute, and I'm just going to quickly draw in a note down here. I'm using the pencil tool to create a new region. Then I'm just going to go in and use a pencil tool inside that region in the piano roll to create a note B2, which happens to be the key of my track. It's in B minor. And then I'm going to make that, if it's not the right length, I'm just going to drag the edge to make it a 2-bar note, right? So from 3 to 5, where I want it to end. Now, going back to the auto filter, what I'm going to do now is if we listen to this, see it sweeps up and then cuts back down, so it's happening too quickly. So I'm going to go over here to the rate, and if I drag this downwards, I can set it to a 2-bar rate. So now this shape is going to be made over the course of 2 bars, which happens to be the length that I want. So let's give that a try. So that's pretty good. Now, if we want to spice it up a little bit, we can add a little bit of resonance. Let's try adding 50% resonance. You can hear it's got a, if we turn it way up, you'll hear really get that kind of thing going on. So what that's doing is it's boosting the frequencies that are around the cutoff frequency. So as the cutoff frequency moves, it's emphasizing the action of the cutoff frequency and making it more pronounced, which for a sweep sound like this is good. We want that. So that's going to be good for this. Now, you can play around with this. You can play around with the cutoff. You can play around with the resonance. You could try different filter types. You know, play around with the LFO rate, apply some automation. There's a lot you can do in here. I'm just showing you the basics so you can kind of get a sound going using the LFO. And then I'm going to close that up for now. And now I'm going to add that second layer of movement that I had on this sound, which I'm doing with a tremolo. So you hear it's doing that. So that is achieved using the tremolo. So let's just throw a tremolo on there. We'll go modulation, tremolo, choose stereo. And now we can listen real quick. So a tremolo is a very similar effect to the auto filter in that it has an LFO built into it as well. So it's also moving and in moving in a certain rhythm with the track using this rate control over here. So we adjusted the rate control to make the auto filter sweep over 2 bars. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this sweep really fast. I'm going to do a 16th note triplet because I've got this kind of triplet kick roll. And that is going to give me a fast LFO rate. And what this is affecting is the volume of the sound, and it's actually sweeping it back and forth between the left and the right channels. So you'll hear it pan back and forth. So that's pretty cool, but what I want is I want a little bit of a harder cutting in and out. So I'm going to take this smoothing value, and you see as you adjust it, you can see the graphic kind of shows you what's going on, and I'm just going to take it all the way down. So now what we're going to have is the volume is going to cut hard back and forth from channel to channel at this 16th note triplet rate. All right. So that's pretty cool. Now, for extra credit, what I did here was to add the extra pitched component of this. That rising pitch is pretty simple, actually. I just go back into the ESP and turn up one of these other oscillators. So let's try to turn up the saw wave oscillator. So that was why I set this to the pitch B2, which is in key with my track, because you know, I always do that, even if I'm just making noise, because I might want to add another pitch tone to it. And so I just added the saw wave there. So that's giving me a note B. And then what I'm going to do is add, to get that rising pitch, I'm just going to add a little pitch bend down here in the hyper editor. I'm just going to pull this up, go over to pitch bend, and then just take the pointer tool, pull this part all the way down. Whoops, click. Pull. So add 2 points and set one all the way at the bottom and one all the way at the top. And now we got that note bending over time, which is pretty cool. And then a little bonus tip for you guys, if you want to make that pitch bend more extreme, if you go into the advanced area of the ESP here, something not everybody knows about, this little extra triangle will expand that for you. What we can do is grab the positive bender range here and just take it and turn it all the way up. So before it was bending over 1 octave, 12 semitones, and now it's going to bend over 2 octaves. So it's going to be it's going to be a stronger pitch bend. So here we go. And there you have it. So let's give it a little listen in context. I'll mute the old one. So there it is. And I'm using this in a hip hop track, obviously, but I think you guys can use your imagination and find many, many different styles of music where these kind of rising, whooshing kind of noises are useful. If you're doing dance music, you can actually use this tremolo to fake a kind of a side chain style white noise effect, this kind of whoosh, whoosh, whoosh kind of thing in your dance tracks, so you can play around with that. And if you want to learn more about this stuff, you can check out the full 48 class Logic course either at our school in Manhattan in New York City or online at dubspot.com. I'm Matt Shadetek. If you'd like to learn more about me and my own production, you can check me out at mattshadetek.com. And I hope this was helpful for you guys. Please leave a comment below, subscribe, and let us know, how the tutorials are working for you. If there's something else that you'd like to hear, we'd love to hear about it. So yeah, thanks for watching.
Welcome to Dubspot. We believe in providing you hands-on experience right away. Whether you're completely new to music and want to turn the sounds in your head into a musical reality, or you're an experienced artist looking to refine your skills and add new tools to your arsenal, we're ready to meet you at your level. For students of all ages, all levels, and all styles of music, Dubspot is here to help you achieve your goals. With course offerings both online wherever you are and at our school in the heart of New York City, we are ready to guide you through the next phase of your musical transformation. Whether you want to produce music, DJ, or do both, you've come to the right place. Come explore Dubspot for yourself, become a part of our community, and make music.